The year is young, but it's never too early to start celebrating the finest movies offered up by both the multiplex and the art house. For now, these are our current movies for the best movies of 2017. We love seeing you press the subscribe button even more, and don't forget to join our notification squad so that you're the first to know about new videos from the majestic Get Out. Be it the early sight of a car pulling up alongside an African-American man, or a photo of an angry dog being held on a tight leash, the color white spells doom in Jordan Peele's social commentary horror hit Get Out, albeit ultimately in unexpected ways. Surrounded by his white girlfriend Rose's, Allison Williams, Obama-loving family and their friends during a weekend getaway at their rural estate, Chris, Daniel Kaluuya, finds himself increasingly uncomfortable, especially after a series of encounters with fellow African Americans. The household's staffers, a young boyfriend of a much older white woman, make him suspect that something is scarily amiss. The story's climactic revelations are indebted to the Stepford Wives, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and Rosemary's Baby, and yet are given a fresh-of-the-moment twist by Peele's razor-sharp script, which cleverly locates the means by which liberals' pro-black attitudes function as a type of appropriation-esque intolerance. Split. Even if it didn't conclude with a gasp-inducing twist that forces one to reconsider everything that's come before it, Split would stand as a triumphant return to form for director M. Night Shyamalan, the former The Sixth Sense wunderkind who'd lately fallen on tough studio for hard times. Unlike his sturdy 2015 found-footage thriller The Visit, Shyamalan's latest boasts the menacing, meticulous widescreen beauty of his signature hits. Here, his sinister style is used in service of a story about three young girls, Anya Taylor-Joy, Haley Lu Richardson, and Jessica Sula, who are kidnapped by James McAvoy's Kevin, and then learn that they actually have many captors, considering that Kevin boasts 23 distinct personalities. Worse still for them, Kevin is convinced that a supernatural 24th identity known as the Beast is on the verge of emerging, a development that provides plenty of breakneck momentum suspense to go along with McAvoy's mesmerizing lead turn as the monstrous madman. Logan. Hugh Jackman bears his adamantium claws one last time as Marvel's Wolverine in James Mangold's Logan, which, after 2013's samurai-themed The Wolverine, relocates the character in dusty, downbeat western terrain. Set in a 2029 in which mutants are rare specimens thought to be extinct, as well as the stuff of comic book legend, Mangold's film finds Jackman's famed hero hiding out in remote Texas, caring for a dementia-addled Professor X, Patrick Stewart, and trying to forget how he got all the scars that now mar his body, failing to heal the way they did during his youthful heyday. His recluse life is forever upended by the arrival of a young girl, Daphne Keene, with whom he shares a mysterious connection, and who's wanted by mercenaries led by Boyd Holbrook's Donald Pierce. What follows is a prolonged chase narrative that's awash in more brutal R-rated action than any prior X-Men franchise installment, and infused with a surprisingly melancholy, if quietly hopeful, heart that marks it as a fitting end for Jackman's Wolverine tenure. The Lost City of Z. Acclaimed American filmmaker James Gray ventures for the first time outside New York City, and into the dark heart of the Amazon, with The Lost City of Z, an adaptation of David Grant's 2009 non-fiction book of the same name. Such a geographic relocation, however, does little to alter Gray's fundamental artistic course, as his latest, about early 20th century British explorer Percy Fawcett's Charlie Hunnam, repeated efforts to locate a lost South American civilization that he believed to be more advanced than any previously discovered, boasts his usual classical aesthetics and empathetic drama. Energized by a hint of Apocalypse Now's Into the Wild madness, this entrancing period piece is at once a grand adventure, a social critique about class and intolerance, and a nuanced character study about an individual caught between his love for, and desire to escape, his environment. Led by Hunnam, Robert Pattinson, and Sienna Miller, it's also one of the finest acted dramas of the year. Hounds of Love. Putting a rugged twist on the serial killer subgenre, Australian director Ben Young's stellar debut concerns a young girl in 1987 Perth named Vicky Ashley Cumming, who, after another row with her mother about her parents' separation, is lured back to the home of a couple, Emma Booth and Stephen Curry, that, it turns out, has deviant plans for her. From an opening POV pan across a schoolyard populated by nubile teenage girls to the many shots in which Young's camera pulls back from closed facades, Hounds of Love conveys a chilling sense of unspeakable horrors being perpetrated just out of everyday view, thus lending the proceedings a faux based on real events grittiness and immediacy. As it slowly elucidates the parent-child issues plaguing both its captors and their captive, the film develops into a chilling portrait of male domination and female liberation, all while providing, at every turn, an almost unbearable amount of methodical, nail-biting suspense. Alien Covenant. Blending the body horror of his 1979 Alien, the gung-ho combat of James Cameron's 1986 sequel Aliens, and the philosophical grandiosity of his 2012 prequel Prometheus, not to mention the man and machine musings of his 1982 Blade Runner, Ridley Scott delivers a biblically scaled interstellar nightmare with Alien Covenant. Scott's latest spends its first hour setting up a familiar battle between human colonists and angry xenomorphs, after the former decide to investigate a mysterious distress signal from a nearby planet. Yet after expertly going through the tried-and-true monster movie motions, the director then shifts gears by turning his prime attention to Michael Fassbender's android David, who, it turns out, is an inhabitant of this ancient world. Facehuggers, backbursters, mecha doppelgangers and the most narcissistic homoerotic sequence in sci-fi history soon follow, with the action immaculately designed for suspense, scares and sly sinister humor. At once a thrilling blockbuster spectacle and an inventive expansion of the franchise's core themes, it's the rare prequel to truly justify its existence. I Called Him Morgan. Lee Morgan was one of the mid-century jazz scene's brightest lights, until his life was cut tragically short when his wife Helen fatally gunned him down in a New York City nightclub on the snowy night of February 18, 1972. Using copious archival footage, newly recorded interviews with friends and collaborators, and, most illuminating of all, a tape-recorded 1996 interview with Helen made 1 month before her death, Caspar Cotton's transfixing documentary I Called Him Morgan recounts this sad real-life saga as 2 separate stories, Lee's and Helen's, that eventually dovetailed, intertwined, and then combusted in horrific fashion. Abandonment, drug abuse and betrayal all factor into this sorrowful equation, as Cotton assuredly conveys the messy stew of passion, need, ego, loneliness, and fury that eventually begat such a calamity. In doing so, it recognizes the jazzy spirit of Lee and Helen's doomed romance, and, also, the riffing our way forward nature of life itself. The Blackcoat's Daughter. Director Osgood Perkins is the son of Norman Bates himself, but he proves to be a horror maestro in his own right with The Blackcoat's Daughter, a beguiling descent into dark, demonic places that's all the more chilling for refusing to chart a simple straight and narrow course. In upstate New York, Kat Medmenskian-Shipka is left by her parents to spend winter break at her boarding school alongside more popular Rose, Lucy Boynton. Meanwhile, Joan, Emma Roberts, endeavors to hitchhike her way to the school, eventually nabbing a ride with the contentious couple, James Remark and Lauren Holly. What these 3 girls have to do with each other is a mystery to be unraveled. However, it's ultimately far less important than the overarching air of loss, of parents, of virginity, of adolescence, and grief that consumes them. It eventually becomes clear that all is not right with this institute and its Satan-admiring staff members. Yet what lingers is the pervasive fear of abandonment, all of it encapsulated by Robert's final, unforgettable primal scream. John Wick, Chapter 2. Rarely has a film seemed less in need of a sequel than 2014's John Wick, a self-contained bit of action cinema perfection. Nonetheless, John Wick, Chapter 2 manages to justify its own existence through a constant barrage of masterful gun-fu carnage, with bullets flying at a jaw-dropping rate courtesy of Keanu Reeves' nattily-dressed assassin. Director David Leitch's follow-up is a symphonic orgy of frenzied firearm warfare, with violence here depicted as a culinary art form performed by stylish Zen badasses with philosophical souls. It's akin to a hybrid of Jean-Pierre Melville's noir cool and Marvel's superhero fantasy, all underworld rules and regulations and unbelievable feats of fearsome brutality, with Reeves exuding male model chickeness and powder keg explosiveness as the epicenter of this murderous maelstrom. While the film's reason for once again forcing Wick out of retirement isn't nearly as gripping as its predecessor's vengeance for his dead dog motivation, the specifics of Chapter 2 wind up mattering little in the face of so much exhilarating death and destruction. I don't feel at home in this world anymore. Suspenseful and hilarious, despondent and optimistic, I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore is a masterful genre film, one that immerses itself in the small, painful indignities of everyday life, and then casts the battle against those wrongs as a serio-comic odyssey of sleuthing, heavy metal and nunchucks. After her house is burglarized, Nurse Ruth, Melanie Linsky, partners with rat-tailed martial arts-loving neighbor Tony, Elijah Wood, to recover her stolen belongings. Their ensuing black comedy adventure is grimy, bloody, and ridiculous, as director Macon Blair, best known for his performances in Jeremy Saulnier's Blue Ruin and Green Room, pitches his material as an absurdist neo-noir saga about combating existential despair. Courtesy of a great Linsky performance that's equal parts miserable and furious, I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, which won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance before premiering exclusively on Netflix, finds humor and horror in the notion that everyone is an asshole, and then locates hope in the closing note idea that, rather than worrying about them, life is best spent in the company of those precious few who aren't. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment and click the bell to get notified about our next video.